Hello, welcome to this video on Bodhicaryavatara, chapter 7, verse 54. As before, I will read it first without the text on screen and then with the text. Tasmad dridhena chittena karomyapadamapadaha trailokya vijigishutvam hasyamapajyatasya me. I'll give you the text. Tasmad dridhena chittena karomyapadamapadaha Trailokya vijigishutvam hasyam apajjitasya me. The main verb here, in fact, the only verb in this verse is karomi, from the root kri, meaning to do, of course. Same root as karma. It's a slightly irregular verb, not too irregular. So it's karomi is I do. And here it's a present tense, but it's used in a future meaning. This you can use the present tense sometimes if you've made a firm intention that you're about to do it. So you could have said karishyami, I will do, but to say karomi using the present tense for your formulated firm intention of something that you're about to do. So we would translate as I will make. So karomi apadam. Now, this word apad we had in the previous line, meaning a calamity, disaster, sometimes just means a difficulty. Feminine gender, and feminine and with an ending in a consonant stem, apad, therefore it just makes it's accusative in apadam. And the next one, the second occurrence, is apada, which is the genitive. So karomi apadam becomes by sandhikos karomyapadam apada. I will make a difficulty of difficulty. In other words, I will make a difficulty for difficulty. That's the way of saying I will put a difficulty in difficulty's way. If difficulty comes at me, I'm going to put a difficulty to block it. So in English, we would tend to say, I will make a difficulty for difficulty, or I will make it difficult for difficulty to get to me. In Sanskrit, you'd say, I will make a difficulty of difficulty, because it's the difficulty that will be having the difficulty, so it will be the difficulty's difficulty. So you are making the difficulty's difficulty. Apadam apada. So, tasmat, then by santi tasmad dridhena, because of the following D. So tasmat on its own means literally from that. The neuter nominative would be tat, tat sat, tattvamasi, tat. Ablative tasmat, that is the ablative of cause, so literally from that. And that has the meaning of therefore, or so, for that reason. Dridhena chittena, we will know the word chitta. So dridhena chittena. Dridha means firm. Let me just give you my iPad. Here we are. Dridha. As very often happens where you get an intervocalic d in Sanskrit, that's occurring between two vowels, either d unaspirated or d aspirated. It often becomes a retroflex l in Pali. So in Pali, the same word becomes dalha, which means firm. And it's got a generally good sense, the idea of firmness, not being easily shaken by difficulties or troubles. So, tasmat, therefore, dridhena chittena, with a firm mind, karomyapadam apada, I will make difficulty for difficulty. We often find that where we have a root ending in an H. That's not visarga, but the full consonantal H. That will often become a D in the past participle, and sometimes with a change of vowel as well, lengthening of vowel. So mu. We get the word moha. Lobha, moha, dosa, moha meaning delusion. It makes its past participle. I'll show you how it would be made if it were regular. It would make muta. But what in fact happens is that h and the th blend together to make an aspirated retroflex, and it also lengthens the vowel. So mudha is the past participle from mu. So mudha is deluded, suffering from moha. You get similar ones, again, sometimes with a change of vowel. Va, for to convey or to carry. You get vodha, carried. So that's the explanation for this subdotted retroflex aspirated d. So therefore, with a firm mind, I will make difficulties for difficulty. Trailokya vijigishutvam hasyama pajjitasya me. So, ji, to conquer or defeat. The past participle, conquered, defeated, is made entirely regularly. Just add ta to the stem, jita, that's it, conquered. If you are conquered or defeated by difficulty, you can make a compound of that. You can say by difficulty, put in the instrumental apada. Remember the instrumental singular ending a for the consonant stems. Swak in Pali, swakato bhagavata dhammo bhagavata, by the Blessed One. So you could say conquered by difficulty. You've got apad, apada by difficulty, jitta. Apada, jitta by difficulty conquered. You can also make a compound of it. So we'll take the stem form. So it's long. Stem form, apad plus jitta. Now by sandhi, where a word ends in a d or a t, and the following consonant, the beginning consonant of the next word is the j, it merges into the j and makes a double j. So that is why you get apajita. You can see why. Apajita, apajita. And that's how it's written, and that accounts for the apajita in the text. Genitive, apajitasya. Me here is a short form of the genitive. The long form of the genitive is mama, but there are three forms. There's aham, meaning I. Now you have accusative, mam. You have the dative, mahyam, and you have the genitive, mama. These three cases, not the others, just these three cases, can all take a short form, which here is me. That short form is enclitic, meaning it has to be joined onto the end of a substantive word. So that is why you say apajitasya me. You couldn't say me apajitasya. You could have said mama apajitasya, which by sandhi would become mama apajitasya, and you could say apajitasya mama, but use the short form apajitasya me. The same kind of thing happens with twam and twam, tubhyam, to thee. That has a short form as well, te. So whenever you use the Indian greeting namaste, homage to the namaste, you could actually say namastubhyam, but we use the short form namaste, and you are using that short form. So exactly me behaves it in that same way. So something is ridiculous for me who am overcome, conquered, beaten, defeated by difficulty, jitta. Hasyam is so the root has is to laugh. It makes its future passive participle, otherwise known as gerundive, with a lengthening of the so hasya. So hasya means laughable and therefore ridiculous, absurd. So, well, ridiculous would be the most precise translation from the Latin ridere, to laugh. So something is hasyam apajitasya me, is ridiculous for the difficulty overcome me. Ridiculous for me who am overcome by difficulty. Now, as I've said in the note, this could also be interpreted as a genitive absolute. You're familiar with the locative absolute, which is exactly the same construction as the Latin ablative absolute. Sanskrit has both, so does Pali. The locative absolute is the more common. That means with one set of circumstances, well, that was going on, something else was going on. There's all in the locative absolute construction, there's always a participle there. And as we have, the participle is jitta. That's the past passive participle. So something is hasyam. We'll come to this phrase in a moment. Something is ridiculous. Me being, or with me being, defeated by difficulty, beaten down by difficulty. So apajitasya me. It could be either ridiculous for me to think that, or it is ridiculous me being in that condition. Apajitasya me. So what exactly is it that is hasyam? It is the Trailokya Vijgishutvam. So we have the Vijgishutvam, bit difficult to spot in that word, but the root of it is the G. Again, the G. With the prefix Vg. Again, it has. This is a prefix that doesn't make much of a difference to the meaning. But again, it just means to conquer. We have the modern. We have the Sanskrit word Vijaya, is conquest, victory, and the Vijaya. And it's used as it's well-known name in modern India. In Hindi, for example, they call it Vijay, because in the modern languages of northern India, this one's descended from Sanskrit, the final a is dropped in pronunciation, so it would be like that in Hindi, and that's how we normally say it's spelled in English as well. But it's that same word. So Vijaya is victory. Now here we are looking at a desiderative, which means you can alter the verb by an infix and a suffix to express the desire to do something. It can make a finite verb, but it's most commonly found in the form of an adjective, desiring to do something. And how do you make a desiderative? Let's take the root yud. Meaning to fight. To make a desiderative, you reduplicate the first, either the first vowel, well, the first consonant and vowel. Then you put the root. And then the desiderative adjective, desirous of fighting. Remember, I've put this asterisk here, I remind you, to show that this word is wrong as written. I'm just writing it for illustrative purposes to show how we get to the correct form of the word. So what have I done here? We've taken the root, yud, we've reduplicated the first syllable, or not the whole of the first syllable, just the first consonant and vowel, and we've put su at the end. So now, we've got some internal sandhi to do. So the d followed by s has become a t. So it becomes yuyutsu. So yuyutsu, wishing to fight. It's an adjective, desirous of fighting. We have it in the first, or is it second, but very early on in the Bhagavad Gita. These people are eager for battle. Yujutsava. The plural of the words in the u is ava, so they are yujutsava, eager for battle. When you make this desiderative form, certain changes can occur to the root, sometimes to the extent that you can't even recognize what the root is. You'll get used to that. But we've got this root G. In several cases where you have a stem, so a root rather, beginning with a J or a Ch, sometimes when you reduplicate it, the J or the Ch of the root will revert to being a guttural, so that means it'll revert to being a G or a K. So what happens here? Again, I'm going to spell this, sorry. What have I done here? This, by the way, is wrong, but it shows you how we get the G, su. Root G, reduplicate G, end with su. Sanskrit will try to avoid the G, ch, so it'll change that bit, it'll make it revert to a guttural, so it will be a G, Gi, su. Okay? Now, next rule is that this stem, not the root now, the stem, that's the one that we use to make the verbs and the adjective from, the desiderative stem, the second syllable is always a heavy syllable. We didn't have to change the vowel here because yut is a heavy syllable, short vowel followed by a consonant with no following vowel, a closed syllable. It's a heavy syllable. Yuyutsu. It's already heavy. You don't need to lengthen the vowel. Here, however, jigishu, no. You want to lengthen the vowel. Jigi. And because the other rule of Sandhi, because this is a s preceded in the same word by a vowel other than a or a, it becomes a sh. So that is how we get to jigishu. Now, prefix plus root, viji, to conquer. When you are doing a reduplication of the stem here, you put the reduplicated syllable between the prefix and the root. So it's not Vigigishu. No, it's Vigigishu. Vigigishu. Vigigishu now is an adjective meaning desirous of conquering, wanting to conquer. Remember, it's an adjective. It can make, like so many adjectives, it can make an abstract noun by adding the suffix toi, which is always neuter, almost always neuter. I'll tell you in a moment. So vijigishtva is not, so vijigishu on its own, desirous of conquering. Vijigishutva is the corresponding abstract noun, meaning desirousness of conquering, or the state or quality of being desirous of conquering. All that, you see, all that is condensed into one word. So here, that's how we get vijigishutvam in line 2 here, the desirousness of conquering. But of conquering what? Of conquering the triple world. So again, as usual in Sanskrit, we can make that into a compound, the triple world conquering, which is the triple world desirousness of conquering. So Trailokya. So what is this Trailokya? Right, Triloka. If you parsed it out, it would be Trayaha. Tri, by the way, is the combining form. You make a compound starting with a 3, it's just tri. If, however, you're using it as a separate word and fully declined in the sentence, the masculine, nominative masculine is traya. So 3 worlds, well, the 3 worlds would be without Santi, traya loka. With Santi, then it would be, of course, trayo loka, the 3 worlds. If you expressed it in that way, trayo loka, you would be emphasizing there's 3, 1, 2, and 3 as 3 separate worlds. You can make that, alter it by sandhi, by the way that you sometimes make abstract noun from adjectives. Here you can make an abstract noun, or something that looks like an abstract noun, from this dwigu, this compound, which means a numerical compound. What do? You take triloka. Now, vridhi of the e, that makes I. And instead of the final a, you put ya, trilokya. Now, trilokya, when you do this with a numerical compound, trilokya doesn't mean the 3 separate worlds. It means you're taking it all as one concept, like the triple world, the trio of worlds. So you're acknowledging there are 3 of them, the tri, but equally the emphasis is on the unity of them. It's like one entity composed of three parts. And for example, the 3 times or the 3 ages would be the Trayokalaha, the 3 times. That can mean variously morning, afternoon, and night. It can also mean pre-birth, during human life, and afterlife, wherever you have the 3 times that are past, present, and a future. It's also actually used as grammar, meaning all 3 sentences and all 3 tenses. You can do the same there. So the Trayokala or the Trikala, turn it by the same rule, Vriddhi and Traikalya. So Traikalya means something like the triple time, the idea of time regarded as a whole, the kala, but the Traikalya is the idea of the trio of times, the triple time, the time, that single time that can be seen in three aspects. So that gives you an explanation of Trilokya, Traikalya. So treated as a singular noun, but like a unified trinity. So the Trailokya Vijigishutvam is the desirousness of conquering the triple world. In other words, conquering everything in the universe. Trailokya Vijigishutvam. So this Trailokya Vijigishutvam, this desirousness of conquering the three worlds, is hasyam, absurd, ridiculous. For whom? Apajitasya me. For me, apajitasya, who am overcome or defeated by apad, by difficulties. The idea is, hey, look, if I can't overcome my own little difficulties, how silly is it for me to be thinking of the conquering the Trailokya? So hopefully that makes sense. I will call up the text again and read it out to you. Tasmadridhena chittena karomyapadamapadah Trailokya vijigishutvam hasyamapajitasya me. Once more. Tasmadridhena chittena karomyapadamapadah Trailokya vijigishutvam hasyamapajitasya me. And that concludes this video.